When you're a young person sitting down to write a story, sitting down to make a collage, basically, of your experiences in the world that will somehow fit into this narrative. You sit down, you have a character, you have some things you might want to happen, but that kind of scaffolding is filled up with tangents of your experiences of the world, your thoughts, your musings. You have to put yourself into the work because that's all you have. That's the only material you are working with. Stuff you've either thought yourself or experienced firsthand in the world. Anecdotes, details about your mom's life, details you read in a book once 5 years ago. It's all going to go in the same kind of pot, especially for a novel, right? But I think when you're a young person and you're setting out on that task, you have less to work with initially. You have fewer, you've thought fewer things in your life. You kind of recycle the same material over and over again. You rely on cliches to fill in the gaps. Your capacities for creative metaphor might be just as powerful as an older writer's is, but you haven't seen enough of the world to make a connection that is useful for that very specific scene you're writing. So I think people get down on themselves a lot. Young people do when they can't miraculously write sentences of gold that or make those creative connections on the first try. Stream of consciousness, because your stream is limited. It's a trickle, and that's not something to shy away from. I think just the tactics might have to be different. I was reading I read a quote yesterday by Steinbeck, or not a quote. I was just reading an article about Steinbeck, and about his process writing Grapes of Wrath, and apparently he wrote the thing in a 100-day sprint, and just of pure inspiration, kind of stream of consciousness. And you can tell that in his writing style. I kind of noticed that immediately when reading. I had never read Steinbeck before, and I was like, this is a guy who just sat down at the typewriter or longhand, whatever he did, and just wrote these words exactly. It wasn't a sort of write this one sentence and copy it here and kind of tweak this endlessly until you do this. There's repeating ideas, sentences or paragraphs that could be just a sentence or a paragraph. It's still good, and it's valuable, but it's a work of, it's not how I work. I was trying to figure out why I don't work like that, why I can't, why I have to, make a bunch of little patches. If I'm sewing a garment, I'm not just stitching row by row, I'm making little patches and stitching them together. I collect things from the world. I write little sentences down that I think of throughout the day and paste them somewhere that I think might fit. And that's not a process that can be fast. But I think it's the best process for a young person. Because your sit down, crank it out is not going to be inspired. It's not going to be inspired in the same way, because you don't have the experience. You haven't had the thoughts. Your thoughts are elementary. You can make the same kind of metaphor in creative. You can write good work, but it's not gonna just come out of your head in that way. And I don't believe that most people write that way, even older people. I think most people are collage artists and don't want to admit it. But yeah, if you're young, I think you should not worry about how long it takes you, or copying from other people, or mimicking other people, or because that's how you learn and have new ideas.